Hello and welcome to another drive-in double feature. I'm Ryan,
I'm Nathan.
and this is the podcast where we talk about two movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. But before getting anything at all, we have a Patreon over at patreon.com/drive-in double feature podcast. Nathan, I was at my local farmer's market the other day
Mm-hmm.
and I was picking up some nice preservatives, like some jams and jellies, that's like
Mm-hmm.
real fancy stuff. And
Stuff you put
and
on a
you know, they're like,
pizza ever since the tomato ban.
yeah, true, true.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the people buying one of them is like, these jams are so sweet and savory, and it's almost as sweet and savory as the Drive and Double Feature Patreon, where
Oh,
we have some nice fun conversations, some games, just a good old time there where we just have some good old fashioned fun, is what they say. Not I would say, they said that. And they they were just really appreciative and just said, I hope Nathan and Ryan know how much we appreciate their podcast. And I said, I think they know.
I think
And
so.
it's only $5 a month too, so don't remember that. But today we are talking about 1986's Invaders from Mars, which is directed by returning director Tobe Hooper. He's
Yes.
back.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, Tobe Hooper's one that we talk about quite a bit too, huh?
I think this is like his third one or no, like fourth, I
Yeah,
think, because of the Eaten Alive or whatever.
yeah, Eaten Alive, Life Force, and then we talked about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, right?
We
Yeah.
did.
Wow. So yeah, fourth one. We might as well go through his filmography at this point.
Might as well. Poltergeist is next week. But anyway, um,
That's Steven
no,
Spielberg.
no, Toby Hooper directed everything.
Okay, all right. Whatever.
But no, but no, this movie is also another canon movie.
Yes, yeah. We've
It's
actually referenced this one.
have we?
I think we've talked about it. I feel like we talked about Life Force and like the three picture deal with Canon.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Yeah, so this was one of those, and this movie is actually a remake from the movie from the 50s, also called Invaders from Mars. And in fact, the little boy part that was in the 50s movie, the little boy in that movie actually plays a role in this movie as the police chief
Oh,
in
cool. I
this
didn't know
one.
that.
Yeah, so he does return and does like a nice little cameo. But um, this one, not gonna lie, it's pretty much almost the exact same plot to Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
I was watching it. I was like, oh yeah, this is just Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Okay.
Except so this alien ship crash lands in the backyard of this kid's backyard. David Gardner is the kid,
Hmm.
and his dad's like, all right, I'm gonna go check it out. And he just walks over the hill, and then next thing he comes back and he's starting to act really strange. He's real
Hmm.
emotionless and just acting really weird throughout the whole time. And thank God that his mom is played by Lorraine Newman. I mean, because everyone was just clamoring for
Oh
Lorraine
yeah.
Newman.
Yeah, one of the SNL not ready for primetime players. The most famous one of the bunch, right? Lorraine Newman.
Yep,
I
that's
was
right.
so surprised. I was like, what is she doing here? And it's not really a comedic role. Uh,
She's just she's just the
a
mom.
mom.
That's it.
Yeah, she's just the mom. Sometimes she does a silly voice. She does a silly alien voice at one point, which is funny because she's one of the cone heads on SNL. And that's
Oh, and
basically
SNL, right, right.
yeah, and that's one of the voices that she does. She basically does that voice.
Yeah. So they're acting really weird, and David immediately knows something's not right with his dad.
Hmm.
And it's funny, like at the beginning of the movie, he like once he realizes like did you notice when he was like his dad was acting weird, he's like, let me walk you to the bus stop. and you think like he's like gonna walk him down the street. It just takes him to like the end of the driveway. Like, does
Yeah,
that
they're in
count as
front
a
of the.
bus stop?
No,
Like,
what parent?
oh,
I like. Okay, so sometimes I can understand a parent walking out with them, but not like being like, "I let me take you to the bus stop." No, the bus goes to your home here. You know,
it stops in front of their driveway.
but maybe that's like an alien thing. Maybe that's what's like so weird about it, right? Is the alien? Maybe it's just because he's an alien. Because the aliens, they like do some things fine, but other things not. It's usually like eating is like what's weird for them. They're eating weird stuff. Otherwise, they kind of get being a human.
Right, like they are eating like raw meat
Burnt
and just
bacon.
burnt bacon. They really love that.
Hmm.
Um, and he goes to school, and David's a little bit of an outcast, sort of.
Yeah.
Uh, and the only one that's really nice to him is actually the school nurse,
Hmm.
which is played by Karen Black, which she was in Nashville. Like this movie, like has like a pretty like heavy hitting like cast to it. Like
I know it's actually really surprising. I'm guessing it's just Tobe Hooper kind of brought that in because I feel like a canon movie doesn't. I mean, sometimes they can get famous people, but not like too wide of a cast.
sure,
Because
and
Louise Fletcher shows up as his teacher.
yeah, Louise Fletcher, who like 10 years ago won an Oscar for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's
Hmm.
Nest. Now she's in this. And then also Bud Cort, who
Well,
we've
he that's
talked,
such a small part.
it's a small role, but still it's like it's from Harold and Maude, so it's not like he's an
Yeah.
unknown either. So
Have we talked about Bud Cort since Harold and Maude when we talked about that on a different podcast a long time ago? I forget
I
if
don't
he's
think
shown
we
up in one of
have.
these. That man is
Maybe
aged. Like it hasn't been that long since Harold and Maude. I mean, maybe it's been over 10 years.
15. Yeah, about
15.
15 years.
But he like is he's already at the stage where he's like balding and like he's not looking great. And it just
No,
it's such a stark
I
contrast.
I don't like to be mean like that, but no, time was not very forgiving to him.
But he found like his roles for his look because he's still in movies. Like he'll pop up in things. Yeah, maybe I'm being a little
Sure.
mean, but
Sure, but you just don't. It's just funny. Like he goes from like starring in like one of like the most like eccentric movies that they made at the time, and now it's just like he's just a scientist. Just
yeah, right, yeah. Like Harold and Maude's like a movie that's will continue to be people's favorites. Invaders from Mars, I don't think so. This movie has
no,
its fans though. Every movie's
it does.
somebody's
It has a
favorite
cult.
movies.
It has
Um,
its own cult following.
can I say something about David though?
No,
No, I can't. Okay. Let me
please go
say,
ahead.
give this kid a Razzie. Get him out of the movies. I thought he was horrible in this movie. I did not like. At first, he was all right, but as you get later into the movie, this kid starts like mumbling lines. Like there's a scene where he's like talking to like the general, and he's like. Well, what if we do this to the aliens? And he's like explaining this, and it's like he's barely getting it out. I thought he was so
Wow, Nathan,
bad. I didn't think he helped this
he's
movie.
just bullying this poor child.
I'm bullying the 49-year-old. Okay.
But no, I mean, nobody gives a good performance. Like
Yes,
I
you're
didn't like
right.
him, and eventually we do get Karen Black in the movie because eventually what happens is the his school teacher Louise Fletcher ends up becoming an alien, and the way they determine that is that there's a hole on the back of their necks to kind of determine
Hmm.
if they've been possessed or whatever, infected, whatever, however you want to say it.
Hmm.
And she is like dead set because like David walks in and she's eating a frog, and he's
Yeah.
just like, "Oh my God," and then runs over to the nurse. And the nurse like doesn't really believe him right away, but she is like at least the only one that's like kind of willing to listen to him. And
Exactly. Yeah.
And I liked Karen Black. I thought she's given good performances, like I said in Nashville, for instance.
Yeah.
And this one, she's horrible in this one too. Like in this
She's
one too.
so
Like
bad.
they're both bad. Like
Oh, it's
like
such a bad pairing.
I'm just like she's screaming. Like the kid's the calm one in this movie, and
Yes.
like
Yeah.
she's screaming, just like, "Oh, David, David!" Like
Crying
it's
out for
so
this child to save her at some point. Oh man, yeah,
yeah.
she is bad. It just in a lot of like conversations with David and all that. It's just it's not done. I like the idea if it was just a better actress because a kid actor can be bad. I just think that's just going to happen sometimes. But if they got a better actress that could do the humor better, because I like when she was like, "Oh my God, they're going to think I kidnapped you. I'm like a kidnapper." That's like a funny idea. It's just she doesn't
yeah,
do it well.
yeah, and it's just all around just not very good performances. But I can live with that if
hmm
the plot and the effects and stuff like that kind of carry the movie. And going into that, we do see like the movie uses 100% practical effects almost,
hmm
where they go in there because eventually David does find like the alien's hidden cave, and this alien cave is kind of led by this Krang looking alien where it's just like
That's
a
what it looks
brain with
like.
like
Yeah.
these with tentacles, and the aliens in this movie are just giant mouths with legs, kind of. It looks like it looks like the plant from Little Shop of
Little shop.
Horrors.
Yeah, they look bad. They just don't look good. They're not really scary aliens like or even they're just not pleasant to look at at all.
No, no, they're really ugly.
hmm
They don't look, and they're very
Yeah.
stupid.
Cuz
And
I'll be honest with you, for me it was like at first I was kind of watching it and I thought it was fine. I don't love the Invasion of the Body Snatchers plot because I've seen that a million times. But I feel like the aliens showing up was the turning point of me starting to like this less. Without that mystery, and seeing these stupid aliens, just I wasn't as into it.
so I didn't have the exact same one where I was kind of I was on board with this being like a halfway, like, okay, this is really stupid, but at least it's kind of like somewhat entertaining. I'm not really
Mhm.
bored by this either because it's like it's at least enough to where it's keeping my attention, which is a lot nowadays. But um, I I was kind of had high hopes. That's like, okay, I'm kind of imagining this movie is going to have like the same trajectory where it's going to be like they thwart the alien plot and then everything just kind of goes back to the normal at status quo.
Mhm.
Um, but we don't really get that. But I don't want to jump too far ahead. But what I wanted to say is I did laugh really hard. So like David goes and like confronts these aliens by himself.
Mhm.
And there's like a scene where like he like runs up and just like punches the brain, like and the brain just like like there's like because like there's or later in the movie like these military men are like trying to shoot this brain and they're getting electrocuted and it can stop bullets, but it can't stop this little child like punching
Oh,
it.
I mean, they hate David. I mean, at the end of the movie, they're like, David, you're like the one snag in all of this. You're the one taking us on. We can't fight back against you, which makes sense when you get later in the movie. But like, it's just so goofy. It's that
Yeah.
trope. I feel like a kids movie trope, right? That the kid is the smartest one, smarter than all of the adults. Except this isn't really a kids movie.
No, I mean, and it's not even like really a violent movie either. I mean, it's like
No.
there's some I mean, it's about on par with like maybe I don't know, like Monster Squad or something like that. It's just
Yeah.
it's like kid gore or something like that. But
hmm
the movie kind of does drag a little bit, like at some point I feel when
hmm
because eventually what happens is they are like oh, we're gonna go talk to this general guy. And I'm just like, wait, like, did they explain how he knew
Uh,
that general?
no, I think so. His dad works for NASA, and maybe they had like contact before. I don't know. But I think that scene's so dumb where the kid's like, I need to talk to General whatever now. And then the next scene, they get to go see him. It's like, what? They just
Yeah.
let him in there? Because
And
he's at a
again, like,
gate.
yeah, and they don't have any proof of this because David's dad, like you said, works for NASA. He's already infiltrated NASA. He's infected
Yeah.
people from NASA. Um, so there's all these other factors like into play, and the military doesn't really know, and like how they able to determine this is that they're asking, like David's like, hey, if they got a little bandage or a hole on the back of their neck,
Hmm.
then they're aliens, and that's how like that's how they find out who's alien, like kind of like and like the thing where it's like, oh, like they hate hot stuff, they hate fire or whatever.
Hmm.
And this one, it's like if they have to do the make sure whoever has the hole in the back of their neck, and they do interview like these two NASA people, and they're like like they just immediately like try to like run off, and they end up trying. They're about to confess like, oh well, our plan is, and then they get remotely killed by the aliens.
Yeah, and they're like writhing on the ground and like yeah, and I feel like I doesn't one of them try to touch it and it electrocutes them, but like
Well,
just a
yeah, it's
little.
like, well, the one of the guys like goes to touch it, and I'm like, why are you touching that? Like,
Right.
and then the general does say like, stop, don't touch that. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's so stupid. But yeah, I mean, yeah, they do like at least get those, and then like you think the way the movie set up that you think more people would be infected, but actually a good chunk of the military isn't, and then they go in to fight.
There's not that many people that are infected in this movie
Yeah.
that you would think. Um, and in fact, there's the one scene where the teacher, who's infected, is like takes the kids on a field trip
Hmm.
and like drops the kids off, and David's like sees like the bus full of kids. And he's like, no, like
He
like because they
screams
all
it.
yeah. Uh, so eventually, like what happens is they just like, okay, well, we just need to go into that military base and figure like we need to go to the alien tunnel. And because what happens is like there's like these big burrowing creatures that are making these tunnels like for the spaceship and everything, and they're able to get into one of those tunnels, and they're able to get to um the evil aliens, and like they actually get kidnapped at one point, David and the nurse. But instead of just like killing them right away, like just David's able to escape,
Hmm.
and and then the nurse is about to be infected, but David gets the military, and they just bum rush in with guns and just start
Yeah.
shooting everything.
This part of the movie's bad, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not interesting with the military going through the tunnels and it lasts forever of them running around like just like these ugly tunnels. There's one funny scene where Bud Cort sees an alien and tries to talk to it, of course. It's like, "Oh, I want to communicate to it." And of course he gets annihilated.
Well, the alien has a laser attached to his shoulder, so it's just like a big mouth with a laser attached to it.
It's kind of
And
silly.
the one thing that those lasers work on is that they only operate by copper.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So, and they're like, oh, I wonder if that's going to play in later in the movie. And at the end, they go in like guns a blazing, like you said, it's just totally non-factor. They just end up shooting all these aliens,
Uh-huh.
and they end up putting all these explosives on the spaceship, and just this place is ready to blow. They run out, um, and David's parents, who were like in the spaceship the whole time, they go out and follow him too.
Hmm.
Um, the only thing I was like wondering in my mind, so at the very end of the movie, or right before the climax, like the spaceship does explode from the explosives, and David's parents are like, "Oh, like we're fine now, like because our
Yeah.
little explosives broke."
Yeah, because they ran out of the spaceship to chase after David.
Right. So my question is, did all those people who were infected, did they just get blown up? Like, were
I
they
think
on that spaceship?
I think so. I think all because they was about to take off, right? And all the humans were probably on it. They just killed all of those people when they could have had them cured. But don't worry, David's parents survive. That's important.
So all those children on that school bus were just
Oh my
exploded.
god, I didn't think about
Oh,
that. Yeah, yeah, mass child death.
yeah. But
But
yeah, no, this,
oh, go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I was gonna say, but here's the thing: none of that matters.
So this is the turning point in the movie where I didn't like it anymore. And just because I mean, this movie, like, again, I was kind of like in my mind, I'm like, okay, this is not that interesting, but I'm not like, I don't hate it
Hmm.
type of thing. And at the very end of the movie, they do like the whole like, huh, what? Like David just wakes up and it was a dream this
Oh,
whole time.
yeah, we got to that, and I was just like, "Oh no, that is the worst." It's so cliche. I don't think waking up from a dream endings almost never works. It just it's a cop out.
It's so stupid because it's just like, okay, well, I guess none of that mattered. Well, I mean,
Hmm.
like, with a dream like that, it's like you almost want like the main character to learn something or whatever, like from a
Hmm.
dream. Like with It's a Wonderful Life, it's like, oh no, he was dreaming that he was never born or whatever, and he realized he did
Yeah,
want to live.
that makes sense.
And
That's one of the times where it works.
and this one, I'm like, I don't really know what the lesson was. It's just he was.
Well, yeah, there is no lesson. It's not like he learned anything about himself from that. Because, well, what makes it worse is he wakes up and his parents are like, "Oh, it was all a dream. Everything from your day was connected." And then the aliens land again, like, or they actually land at the end of the movie. So it's like he saw the future. It kind of just doesn't make sense.
Well, they land at the end, and he's like, "No, no, don't go over the hill," like because it's the movie's about basically the movie's about to start over again,
Yeah,
and then psych, it's a double dream. Like he was dreaming of that apparently,
which that even
because
pisses me off even
like
more.
I was just like, "What?" Like like I don't. That annoyed me so much when I was just like, that just made me not like this movie.
Yeah, yeah, because it just feels like I don't even know what you're going for at that point. It feels like a joke at the audience, or lazy screenwriter that doesn't know how to end the movie.
That's what it felt like. It's just like, well, we can't just have the aliens be exploded and then everyone's happy. We have to
Yeah,
do like some sort of.
a
I
stinger.
I think they were doing it because Canon at the time was probably thinking, they could probably make a sequel to this or like make it a
Mhm.
franchise or whatever.
Probably. I'm sure. I would love to hear if Canon was the one who gave this movie this ending, because I know they banked on this so hard. Same with Texas Chainsaw 2, which is Tobe Hooper as well. And I mean, neither of those did very well, as
No.
well as they had
And
hoped.
no. And I think this was just kind of like one of those instances where they were just kind of I think they were really wanting another sequel out of this because that's kind of like what their motto was, is like just make a movie super cheap and let's just hope for the best. So in this one though, this movie did have a budget of $7 million, only had a gross of just about 4.8 million.
That's
So
rough.
wildly underperformed.
Yes, yeah. And that's crazy for a movie that didn't cost very much.
No, so like again, like that's you can kind of see why like they kind of failed because it's just before it was just make a movie like ultra like if they had made this movie for about $1 million, they would have made a small profit, which is kind of like
Yeah.
the go-to. It's like, okay, we made about $3 million. Let's use that to make the next movie type of thing. But
Hmm.
when you have like bomb after bomb and they don't make any money like this one where it's like they probably did end up spending a lot of money on the special effects and everything like that and
Hmm.
ended up just kind of biting them in the ass because of it.
Yeah, exactly. And well, that's kind of the rise up of how Canon failed because they started low making those cheap movies, and now we're seeing that turn of funding big movies by directors and then them being failures. It kind of sounds like A24.
True.
Uh-huh.
Oh, and I just Googled. I guess the reason why they're in the Karen Black that those are mother and son, by the way, the two
Oh,
role. I didn't.
oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I
So,
feel that's crazy. You think they'd have more chemistry? I have no
well,
chemistry with
that's
my mother.
oh God, I hope not. But yeah, this movie, like I said though, this like you said, this movie is a cult classic. There are
Mhm.
people that like this movie a lot,
Yes.
and they're really big fans about it, and it's I mean, good for them. I don't I don't really think that it's a very good ending.
No.
It's a made well enough where I didn't completely hate it, but I just didn't like this one.
No, I agree. I just think I actually just didn't like it for most of the runtime. It feels like, a rip off of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and it does it better. Our acting's not very good. I feel like I don't know, it just doesn't come together really well. And especially with that ending, like you said, it's pretty bad. So I just can't recommend it.
No. But that's gonna do it for this week. So Nathan, what are we gonna talk about next week?
Well, Ryan, I don't know about you, but one of my favorite things is comic book movies. Do you agree? Do you love comic book movies, Marvel, all that?
When have they ever made a movie based off of a comic book? Oh, like Dick Tracy. Yeah, I
Yeah,
love Dick
Dick
Tracy.
Tracy, the Shadow, the Phantom, of course, the
Yeah,
Spirit. Yeah, well, there's this
yeah.
one. There's a small one called Captain America, and I think we should talk about Captain America from
Oh yeah.
night. Yeah,
And that with Chris Evans and
I
Dominic Cooper,
I
Haley
believe
Atwell.
so. Uh,
Yeah,
they were alive in
I know.
19. They were old enough to act in 1990, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you mean 2011.
No, I mean the 1990 Captain America, which is on YouTube if you want to watch that.
Well, sure I do. Of course, I want to watch that.
Of course.
Um,
But
Nathan,
Ryan, what are we covering on Thursday?
we're going to be reviewing one of my favorite fairy tales, and of course, that's Alice in Wonderland. That's one of my favorite storybooks.
Oh, me too. I love the animated movie. Walt Disney made that book, made that
Well,
story up.
well, just imagine that movie, but imagine if it was all in Russian and it was stop motion and
Yes.
it was partly live action. Doesn't that sound great?
That sounds amazing. I love
So good. Good.
Tarkovsky.
Yeah, you'd swear he directed this one. And
Yeah.
but no, this one is it's just called Alice from 1988, and that one is also for free on YouTube right now. And if you have any thoughts and opinions, please email us over at driveanddoubleFeaturePodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to check us out over on our Patreon at patreon.com/driveanddoubleFeaturePodcast and check out the YouTube channel, Drive and Double Feature Podcast. But until next time.
Until next time.